not late, are we? I only got back from the hospital about half an hour ago.
Oh, of course not. Madame Arcati isn't here.
That must have been her we passed coming down the hill. I said I thought it was.
Ah, she won't be long then. It was so lovely of you to come all this way.
We've been looking forward to it. I feel really quite excited.
Violet will be good. I made her promise.
There wasn't any need. I'm absolutely thrilled. I've only seen Madame Arcati 2 or 3 times in the village. I mean, I've never seen her do anything at all peculiar, if you know what I mean.
Dry martini?
By all means.
She certainly is a strange woman. It was only a chance remark of the vicar's about seeing her up on the knoll on Midsummer's Eve, dressed in these sort of Indian robes. It made me think she was psychic at all. Then I began making inquiries. Apparently she'd been a professional in London for years.
It's funny to think of anyone doing it as a profession, isn't it?
I believe it's very lucrative.
Do you believe in it, Mrs. Condamine? Do you think there's anything really genuine about it at all?
I'm afraid not. However, I do find it very interesting how easily people allow themselves to be deceived.
But she must believe it herself, mustn't she? Or is the whole business a fake?
Oh, I suspect the worst. A real professional charlatan. That's what I'm hoping for, anyhow. The character for my book must be a complete imposter. That's one of the most important factors of the whole story.
What exactly are you hoping to get from her?
Oh, jargon, principally. A few tricks of the trade. I haven't been to a seance for years. I want to refresh my memory.
Well, then it's not entirely new to you.
Oh, no. When I was a little boy, an aunt of mine used to come and stay with us. She believed she was a medium. We used to go off on the most elaborate chances after dinner. My mother was fascinated by it.
Was she convinced?
Good heavens, no. She just naturally disliked my aunt and loved making a fool of her.
I gathered that there were never any tangible results.
Oh, sometimes she didn't do too badly. On one occasion, when we were all sitting about in the pitch dark, with my mother groping her way through the chaminade at the piano, my aunt uttered a shrill scream and said she saw a small black dog by my chair. Then somebody turned on the lights and sure enough, there it was.
But how extraordinary.
It was obviously a stray that had come in from the street. And I take my hat off to Auntie for producing it, or at least utilising it. Even my mother was a bit shaken.
What happened to it?
It lived with us for years.
I do hope Madame Arcati doesn't produce any livestock. We've so very little room in this house.
Do you think she tells fortunes? I love having my fortune told.
I expect so.
I was once told on appearance Southsea that I was surrounded by lilies and a golden 7. It worried me for days.
You really must all be serious though, you know, and pretend we believe implicitly. Otherwise, she won't play.
Also, she might really mind. It would be cruel to upset her.
I shall be as good as gold.
Have you ever attended her, Doctor?
Professionally, I mean.
Yes, she had influenza in January. She's only been up here just over a year, you know. And I must say, she was singularly unpsychic then. I always understood she was an authoress.
Oh yes, we originally met as colleagues at one of Mrs. Wilmot's Sunday evenings in Sandgate.
What sort of books does she write?
2 sorts. Rather whimsical children's stories about enchanted woods filled with highly conversational flora and fauna, and the enthusiastic biographies of minor royalties, very sentimental, reverent, and extremely funny.
Here she is.
She does know, doesn't she? About tonight.
Oh, of course, it was all arranged last week. I told her how profoundly interested I was in anything to do with the occult, and she blossomed like a rose.
I feel really quite nervous, as though I were going to make a speech.
You go and meet her, darling.
I've just leaned my bike up against that little bush. It should be perfectly all right if no one touches it. Madame Arcati, how nice of you to come.
My dear Madame Arcati.
I'm afraid I'm rather late, but I had a sudden presentiment I was going to have a puncture, and I went back to get my pump. And then, of course, I didn't have a puncture at all.
Oh, perhaps you will on your way home.
Dr. Bradman, the man with the gentle
I'm
hand.
delighted to see you looking so well, Madame Arcati. This is my wife.
We are old friends. We meet coming out of shops.
Would you like a cocktail?
If it's a dry martini, yes. If it's a concoction, no. Experience has taught me to be very wary of concoction.
It's a dry martini.
How delicious. Thank you, thank you. It was wonderful bicycling up through the woods this evening. I was simply deafened with bird song, you know. It's been lovely all day. But the evening's the time, mark my words. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers. Don't you find it tiring, bicycling everywhere? On the contrary, it stimulates me. I was getting far too sedentary in London. That horrid little flat with the dim lights. They have to be dim, you know. The clients expect it.
I must say I find bicycling very exhausting.
Steady rhythm, that's what counts. Once you've got the knack of it, you never need look back. On you get and away you go.
But the hills, Madame Arcati, pushing up those awful hills.
Just knack again. Down with your head, up with your heart, and you're over the top like a flash and skimming down the other side like a dragonfly. This is the best dry martini I've had in years.
Oh, will you have another?
Certainly. You're a very clever man, you know. Anyone can write books, but it takes an artist to make a dry martini that's dry enough.
Are you writing anything nowadays, Madame Arcati?
Every morning, regular as clockwork, 7 till 1.
Is this a novel or a memoir?
It's a children's book. I have to finish it before the end of October to catch the Christmas sales. It's mostly about very small animals. The hero is a moss beetle. I had to give up my memoir of Princess Pagliacciani because she died in April. And I talked to her about it the other day, and she implored me to go on. But I really hadn't the heart.
You talked to her about it the other day.
Through my control, of course. She seemed very irritable.
It's funny to think of people in the spirit world being irritable, isn't it? I mean, one can hardly imagine it, can one?
We have no reliable guarantee that the afterlife will be any less exasperating than this one, have we?
Oh, Mr. Condamine, how can you?
Ah, dinner. Shall we? Come, Mrs. Bradford. Charles, you're Madame Arcati's right. When did you first discover these extraordinary powers? When I was quite tiny. My mother was a medium before me, you know, and so I had every opportunity of starting on the ground floor, as one might say. I had my first trance when I was 4 years old, and my first ectoplasmic manifestation when I was 5 and a half. What an exciting day that was! I shall never forget it. Of course, the manifestation itself was quite small and of very short duration. But for a child of my tender years, it was most gratifying.
Your mother must have been so pleased.
She was.
Can you foretell the future?
Oh, certainly not. I disapprove of fortune-telling most strongly.
Oh, really? Why?
Too much guesswork and faith mixed up with it, even when the gift is genuine. And it only very occasionally is. You can't count on it.
Why ever not?
Time again. Time is the reef upon which all our frail mystic ships are wrecked.
You mean because it has not yet been proved that the past, the present, and the future are not one and the same thing?
I long ago came to the conclusion that nothing has ever been definitely proved about anything.
How very wise.
I wish the men would hurry up. I'm terribly excited.
Please don't be. It makes everything much, much more difficult.
Well, Madame Arcati, the time is drawing near.
Who knows? It may be receding.
How very true.
I do hope you feel in the mood, Madame Arcati.
It's not a question of mood. It's a question of concentration.
You must forgive us for being impatient. We can perfectly easily wait, though, if you're not quite ready to start.
Nonsense, my dear. I'm absolutely ready. Hey-ho, to work we go.
Is there anything you'd like us to do?
Adieu.
Hold hands or anything?
All that will come later. First, a few deep breaths of fresh air. You may talk if you wish. It shan't bother me in the least.
Oh, dear.
An excellent dinner, darling. I congratulate you.
Ah, the moose wasn't quite right.
It looked a bit hysterical, but it tasted delicious.
That cuckoo is very angry.
I beg your pardon?
That cuckoo is very angry. Listen.
How can you tell?
Timbre. No moon, that's as well, I think. And there's mist rising from the marshes. There's no need for me to light my bicycle lamp, is there? I mean, nobody is likely to fall over it.
No, we're not expecting anybody else.
Good night, you foolish bird. You have a table?
Yes, I thought that one was
Oh,
yours.
dear me, no. I think that one would be much better.
Change over.
This is the moment I always hate.
Are you nervous?
Yes. When I was a girl, I used to be sick.
How fortunate that you grew out of it.
Children are always much more prone to be sick than grown-ups, though, aren't they? I know I could never travel in the train without any degree of safety until I was 14.
Little Tommy Tucker thinks for his supper, what shall he have but brown bread and butter? I despise that because it doesn't rhyme at all, but Daphne loves it.
Who's Daphne?
Daphne is Madame Arcati's control. She's a little girl.
Oh yes, of course, I see.
How old is she?
Rising 7 when she died.
And when was that?
February the 6th, 1884.
Poor little thing.
I should think she'd be a little bit long in the tooth by now.
Do be quiet, George. You'll put Madame Arcati off.
Don't worry, my dear. I am quite used to skeptics. They often turn out to be the most vulnerable and receptive in the long run.
You'd better take that warning to heart, Dr. Bradman.
Please, forgive me, Madame Arcati.
It is of no consequence. Now, will you all sit round the table, please, and place your hands downwards on it?
Come, Mrs. Bradman.
What about the lights?
All in good time, Mr. Condamine. Sit down, please. Fingers should be touching. That's it. I presume this is the gramophone?
Yes, it's an electric one. Would you like it to start?
No, thank you. I can manage. Let's see. What have we here? Brahms. Oh, dear me, no. Rachmaninoff. Oh, too florid. Where is the dance music?
The loose one's on the left.
Ah, I see.
I'm afraid that none of them are very new.
Daphne's rather more attached to Irving Berlin than anyone else. She likes a tune she can hum. Ah, here's one. Always.
Always.
Do sit down, Charles. What is the matter with you?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
The light switch is by the door.
Yes, all except the small one on the desk and the gramophone.
Very well, I understand.
Keep still, Charles.
Fingers touching, George. Remember what Madame Arcati said.
Now, there are one or two things I should like to explain to you all, so if you will all listen attentively.
Of course.
Presently, when the music begins, I will switch out the lights. I may then either walk around the room for a while or lie down flat. In due course, I'll draw up this dear little stool between you and your wife, Mr. Condamine, and rest my hands lightly upon yours. I must ask that you do not move or address me or do anything in the least bit distracting. Is that quite clear?
Perfectly.
Now, I cannot guarantee that anything will happen. Daphne may be unavailable. She had a head cold recently and has been rather under the weather, poor child. On the other hand, a great many things may happen. One of you might have an emanation, for example. Or we might contact a poltergeist, which would be extremely destructive and noisy.
In what way destructive?
Oh, they throw things, you know.
No, I didn't know.
But we must cross that bridge when we come to it, mustn't we?
Certainly. By all means.
Fortunately, an elemental at this time of year is rather unlikely.
And what do elementals do?
Oh, my dear, one could never tell. They're terribly unpredictable. Usually they take the form of a very cold wind,
I don't think I shall like that.
occasionally reaching hurricane velocity.
You don't think it'd be a good idea to move the more breakable ornaments from the mantelpiece before we start?
That really is not necessary, Mrs. Condamine. I assure you I have my own methods of dealing with elementals.
I'm so glad.
Now, are you all ready to empty your minds?
Do you mean we are to think of nothing, Madame Arcati?
Absolutely nothing, Dr. Bradman. Concentrate on a space or a nondescript colour. That really is the best way.
I'll do my damnedest.
Good work. I will start the music. Lights.
Oh dear.
Is there anyone there? Is there anyone there? 1 rap for yes, 2 raps for no. Now then, is there anyone there? Quiet, please. Is that you, Daphne? Is your cold better, dear? Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you doing anything for it? I'm afraid she's rather fretful. Is there anyone there who wishes to speak to anyone here? Ah, now we're getting somewhere. No, Daphne, no, don't do that. No, Daphne, stop that. Daphne, you're hurting me. Oh, oh, oh! Do stop and behave yourself. Be a good girl. Now then, you say there is someone there who wishes to speak to someone here. Daphne? Daphne? There's a good girl. Now, is it me? Is it Dr. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Condamine? Stop that! Behave yourself! Is it Mr. Condamine? There is someone here who wishes to speak to you, Mr. Condamine.
Tell them to leave a message.
I really must ask you not to be so flippant, Mr. Condamine.
Don't be so idiotic, Charles. You'll spoil everything.
I'm sorry, it slipped out.
Can you think of anyone else who might have passed over recently?
Not recently, except my cousin in the civil service. And I can't think why he should wish to communicate with you. We haven't spoken for years.
Are you Mr. Condamine's cousin in the civil service? I'm afraid we've drawn a blank. Can't you think of anyone else? Rack your brains!
It might be old Mrs. Plummet, you know. She died on Whit Monday.
I can't imagine why old Mrs. Plummet should want to talk to me. We had so very little in common.
It's worth trying, anyhow.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet?
She was very deaf. You might need to shout.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet? There's no one there at all.
How disappointing. Just as we were getting on so nicely.
Violet, do be quiet.
Well, I'm afraid there's nothing for it but for me to go into a trance. I had hoped to avoid it because it's so exhausting. But what must be, must be. Excuse me while I restart the gramophone.
Not always, don't play always.
Why ever not?
Don't be absurd.
I'm afraid I must, Mr. Condamine. It would have been imprudent to change horses midstream, if you know what I mean.
Have it your own way.
I'll be loving you always, with all that's true always. When the things you plan need a helping hand, I will understand always, always.
Good God!
Keep still, Charles. It's trying to get away. I can't hold it.
Press down hard. There now.
Ought we to pick it up or leave it where it is?
How the hell would I know?
There's no need to snap at me.
Leave it where it is.
Who said that?
Said what?
Somebody said, leave it where it is.
Nonsense, dear.
I heard it distinctly.
Well, nobody else did. Did they?
I never heard a sound.
It's you, you're playing tricks.
I haven't uttered. I did nothing of the sort.
Good evening, Charles.
Ventriloquism, that's what it is, ventriloquism.
What is the matter with you?
You must have heard that, one of you must have heard that.
Heard what?
You need to sit there solemnly and tell me that none of you heard anything at all.
I certainly didn't.
Neither did I. I wish I had. I should love to hear something.
It's you, Charles. You're acting to try to frighten us.
I'm not, I swear I'm not.
It's difficult to think of what to say after 7 years, but I suppose good evening is as good as anything else.
Who are you?
Elvira, of course. Don't be so silly.
I can't bear this another minute. Get up, everyone, the entertainment's over.
Oh, Charles, how tiresome of you.
Never again, that's all I can say. Never, never again I'm just sick of the whole business, that's all.
Did you hear anything that we didn't hear? Really?
Oh, of course not. I was only pretending.
I knew you were.
Oh dear! Look at Mademoiselle Carty!
What are we to do with her?
Bring her around. Bring her around as soon as possible.
We ought to leave her alone.
She might stay like that for hours.
She's out all right.
Bring her around. It's dangerous to leave her like that.
Really, Charles, you are behaving most peculiarly.
Wake up, Madame Arcati. Wake up. It's time to go home.
Here, go easy, old man.
Get some brandy. Give her some brandy. Lift her up into this chair. Help me, Redman. Wake up, Madame Arcati. Little Tommy Tucker. Madame Arcati.
Here's the brandy.
Wake up.
She's coming round!
Be careful, Charles, you're spilling it down her dress.
Oh, well, that's that.
Are you alright?
Certainly I am. Never felt better in my life.
Would you like some more brandy?
So that's the funny taste in my mouth. Well, really, fancy allowing them to give me brandy, Dr. Bradford. You ought to have known better. Brandy on top of a trance could have been catastrophic. Take it away, please. I shan't sleep a wink as it is.
I know I shan't.
Why ever not?
The whole experience has unhinged me.
Well, what happened? Was it satisfactory?
Nothing much happened after you went off, Madame Arcati.
Something happened, all right. I can feel it. No poltergeist at any rate. That's a good thing. Any apparitions?
Not a thing.
No ectoplasm?
I'm not quite sure what that is, but I don't think so.
Very curious. I feel as though something tremendous has occurred.
Charles pretended he heard a voice in order to frighten us.
It was only a joke.
A very poor one, if I may say so. Nevertheless, I am prepared to swear that there is someone else psychic in this room apart from myself.
I really don't see how there can be, Madame Arcati.
I do hope I haven't gone and released something. However, we are bound to find out within a day or two. If any manifestations should occur, or you hear any unexpected noises, you might let me know at once.
Of course you will. We'll telephone immediately.
I think I really must be on my way now.
Wouldn't you like anything before you leave?
No, thank you. I have some Ovaltine on the stove at home. It only needs hotting up.
Wouldn't you like to leave your bicycle here and let us drive you?
I do think you should, Mademoiselle Carty. After that trance and everything, you can't be feeling quite yourself.
Nonsense, my dear. I'm as fit as a fiddle. Always feel capital after a trance. Rejuvenates me. Good night, Mrs. Condamine.
It is awfully sweet of you to take so much trouble.
I'm so sorry, so little occurred. It's that cold of Daphne's, I expect. You know what children are when they have anything wrong with them. We really must try again sometime.
It'd be lovely.
Good night, Mrs. Bradman.
It was thrilling, it really was. I felt the table absolutely shaking under my hands.
Good night, Doctor.
Congratulations, Madame Arcati.
I am fully aware of the irony in your voice, Dr. Bradman. As a matter of fact, you would make an admirable subject for telepathic hypnosis. A great charm of mine is an expert. I should like her to look you over.
I should be charmed.
Good night, everyone. Next time we really must put our backs into it.
Oh dear! Oh dear, oh dear! Be careful, Mrs. Condamine. She might hear you.
Oh, I can't help it. I really can't. I've been holding it in for ages.
She certainly put you in your place, George, and serve you right.
She's raving mad, of course. Mad as a hatter.
But do you really think she believes?
Oh, of course not. The whole thing's a put-up job. Although, she shoots a more original line than they generally do.
I should think she's hard convinced herself by now.
Possibly. The trance was genuine enough, though. But that, of course, can easily be accounted for.
Hysteria?
Yes, a form of hysteria, I should imagine.
I do hope Mr. Condamine got all the atmosphere he wanted for his book.
He might have got a great deal more if he hadn't spoiled it by showing off. I'm really very cross with him.